time for the interview of an interesting person. Today, this is going to be so much fun. Today, we have the one, the only, the amazing Randy Ross.
That's the best introduction I think I've ever gotten before. The most enthusiastic, that's for sure. Thank you.
Well, Randy is a radio personality and was the 2016 Orange County for Trump chairman.
That's right. It's a lot of fun. You know, it's been a very interesting journey this last 4 years.
Yes, it has been 4 years.
It has been. It's
Maybe
hard to
4
believe.
years is an extra day.
That's right. I'd never, you know, I can't even imagine that I would ever have been in this position, but it certainly has turned out to be an amazing journey.
Mm-hmm. Well, so first off, how are you enjoying being on the show?
This show?
Yeah.
It's okay. No, it's fun. I mean, I've known your dad for a number of years, and we know each other politically, but I met you, I guess about 4 years or 5 years ago. We went for a limousine ride looking at Christmas lights. Remember that? That was a lot of fun. I mean, here we are in a limousine riding around looking at Christmas lights, but it was a lot of fun.
Oh, it was.
It was.
Remember when I was just
So you would only be, what, at that time, you would have been like 5 years old. Like 4 or 5 years old. Very young.
Well, technically 5 or 6.
Yeah, technically, yeah.
So let's jump right in. I know you were the guy that drives the trunk.
The Trump truck.
Yes.
Yes. It's out front, actually, right now as we speak.
Yes, it is. And that you have lots of photos with you and the president. So what got you into wanting to work in politics?
I think that, you know, my mom, when I was very young, she was a poll watcher, and then she became the clerk of the town that we lived in. So it started when I was a kid. And then somewhere in the, 2014, 2012, somewhere around there, I started getting a little bit more interested. But by the time Trump came down the escalator, I said, I want to figure out how I can work on that campaign. So I applied, but they didn't necessarily at first accept me because they didn't accept anybody. They were really trying to keep him at bay from organizing where we live. And so I just kept fighting for it. And one day they called me and said, okay, you're going to be the Trump chairman. And the rest is kind of history. I mean, it was a struggle. It was very difficult because, you know, a lot of people didn't want, you know, a lot of establishment people didn't want Trump to be president. But, you know, the wonderful part about it is we had so many amazing volunteers, over 1,200 in the town we live in alone. And they made it happen. And here we are still 4 years later fighting just like we did back in 2016 to get him reelected in 2020.
Wow. It's actually pretty cool. Well, now I've had a few political candidates and consultants on the show.
Uh-huh.
You have done both.
Uh-huh.
Well, what's the best part about being in politics?
For me now, having ran for office and lost, I'm able to help candidates to look at all sides of something, which I think it's best that you talk to people who have lost, not always people that have won. You want to also hear what you don't want to make the mistakes of. When it comes to being a consultant, I think that, you know, that's an opinion. Opinions, that's what consultants provide, are opinions. So I get the wonderful task of being able to give people my opinion. Whether they take it or not is always up to them. But, you know, this journey wraps up in November of this year. I'll be looking forward to that wrap up. I'm ready to take on some new tasks and some new opportunities when it comes to politics. But for now, this has been just a wonderful opportunity, and I've met the president, you know, multiple times. I've had my picture with him 5 times, 4 of which have become because of fundraising. And that's really what we learn is fundraising is the key to all politics. If you can raise money, you have a chance not only to win in your seat, but it also gives you access to candidates. And so that's one of the things and he's wonderful. I mean, I tell people all the time, they see this guy on television that's, you know, fighting for the country. They don't realize that behind the scenes, he's just a really genuinely nice person, you know, and wants to hear. Every time I've met him and he finds out where I'm from, you know, he doesn't say, hey, Randy, he doesn't remember my name or anything, but, you know, he'll say, and he finds out I'm from Orange County, he goes, how are we really doing in Florida? And I find that to be really cool, that he cares enough to ask the questions and then wants to listen. That to me is fascinating, that this guy with all this wealth and all this power cares what this guy from Indiana thinks, you know?
Yeah. Well, which was harder, running for office or working as a consultant?
I think it both. When you're running for office, it's like running around without your clothes on all day, and people are pointing at you because they're basically every part of your life is open for discussion. When you're a consultant, you get to have an opinion without necessarily being as exposed. People look at you and they're not pointing at you so much. They may not like your opinions, but they're not pointing at you so much. You get to actually guide and educate, motivate folks, and that's kind of like being a teacher, really. I mean, I feel like sometimes that's when you get to a certain point in life, if you can help teach people and guide them, that's really a wonderful legacy to have.
Yeah. Well, I have a lot of young listeners. So, what does the politics mean to you?
What way? To young people necessarily? I mean, I think it's interesting because during this process, I've got to meet a lot of families, obviously adults that are very involved in politics, but their kids, may not really care for it. I think I'm impressed when I meet conservatives that have conservative kids, and the conservative kids say to me, "My parents didn't make me look at things this way," because that's one of my first questions all the time is, if they're a Republican, and their kids are conservative, I'm like, did your parents kind of guide you in that? And what you find is that conservative parents really do it on their own. They really, by living a certain lifestyle and absolutely believing in certain things, they're kind of giving that to their children. And so kids kind of take that on their own. I'm concerned at the same time that a lot of kids are exposed to liberal ideologies, and that is something that I think that it's up to parents to be able to help and guide their children in that way,
Mm-hmm. Wow, so you get to meet a lot of people. Besides the president, who is the most famous person you have met?
Well, I met the vice president. Does that count? It's interesting because I've gotten to meet the My Pillow guy. A lot of one of the things that we learned, especially after the president got the nomination and was headed towards the process, when I was at the inauguration and all these other things, you are meeting everybody. I've met obviously Governor DeSantis, Senator Scott, all these different politicians, and I would never have had that opportunity had I not been the Orange County for Trump chairman. It just wouldn't have lent itself. I would not have been at events where I'm meeting, whether it be political celebrities or just celebrities in general. So, it's often odd, though, to see them in a room, and I'm in the same room with them, and, you want to go shake their hands, and, I don't want to be that guy. I don't want to be the one, hey, by the way, can I get your autograph? But when I go down to Mar-a-Lago to some of those events, you can only assume there's a lot of people that are supportive of this president that whether they are wealthy or just have connections to him from an entertainment perspective. You got to remember he was involved in the entertainment industry before he actually got involved in politics. Everybody back, even when Oprah interviewed him back in the I think it was late or early 90s, late 80s, can't remember exactly when it was 30 years ago or so. She asked him about are you going to run for president? Are you thinking about it? I don't think this was something that he ever really thought about. I think he had a lot of opinions, and those opinions started lending him to being a candidate that was eventually going to change history. So we've been part of history, and I think it's pretty exciting. I mean, I hope he wins again, and I think we're headed in the right direction. But if he doesn't, I don't look back and say I regret a thing.
Okay, so I saw a video of you many years ago doing exercises with kids. Can you tell me more about that?
Well, here's how that all started. It was in the early 90s, and I went to work I had graduated from college. I was going back to get my master's degree, and I got a part-time job at a fitness center. And what I learned was that the people who really needed to be involved in fitness weren't. And I realized that it's very difficult to get people that don't like to work out. So I thought, what better way than to get kids involved? And so I decided to produce a kids fitness video called Cardio Express, and went to the public school system there in Indianapolis, Indiana. And we went to the zoo and we shot a video, and there was a grocery chain up there that bought a very large number of those videos. And I was like, I think there's a business in this. And so that's how I created Cardio Express. And, I had a wonderful time doing it. We launched Intercity Games Orlando, doing workouts with 3,000 to 4,000 kids at SeaWorld Orlando, Universal Orlando. And so it was a wonderful part of my life. There are kids Cardio Express kids on my Facebook page today that were 10, 11 years old in 4th and 5th grade back in the 90s. And, now they're adults with children and they've grown up, but it was a lot of fun. I enjoyed it. And I didn't know anything, to be honest with you. I still didn't know anything. I actually worked with a person that knew how to do aerobics, and she taught me how to do stuff because I didn't know how to do any of that stuff. I thought, overweight doing it. Not like I wasn't totally fit. I was just a guy that knew that if you had energy, that burnt off calories. So that's often what I showed in the videos was different ways to just keep kids, feeling fun, having fun, and having a good time.
Can you show me some moves?
I don't even know if I know any of the moves, but you know what? I have to take this head mic off. We can do one. You want to do the funky chicken? Do you know what the funky... You're going to do it with me? No, you have to do it with me because I'm not going to do it if you're not going to do it with me.
Okay.
Okay, so, all right, let's do the NBA hop first. Okay, so you just go to the right, and then you jump up like you're going to toss the basket. And you come over here and you jump up like you're going to toss the basket. And then you're going to do this funky chicken. See? And then, and there, are you familiar with what, I know you are probably, cilia in your lungs is what takes in the air, right? So we did this whole thing where we're like, cilia, relax. Cilia, relax. So it's all about trying to take things that were part of what were there and just make it work with cool music. See? See? You need to do a kid's video. I'll coach you. We'll make $1 million.
Sure about that.
Yeah, hey, millions a million.
Because, people don't really do exercise anymore because of all the electronics now
especially
that
kids.
are around.
I mean, that's the
Like-
one of the biggest things, still back in the 90s, we didn't have, the gaming part was starting, okay? But what I specifically focused on were Title I schools, which were kids that get free and reduced lunches. So I knew that if we focused on those types of schools, we were going to find kids that probably were coming from backgrounds where they weren't eating so well. They probably were not being exposed to exercise. And as a result of that, by focusing on those schools, we had PE teachers showing my videos during PE. Just like you now go to school and they show a video. Back then, in the 90s, they were showing Cardio Express. Cool Kids Workout.
But
That's what it
right
was
now,
called.
we can't do it.
Well, not right now. You could do it at home, though.
Well, people don't want to do it at home,
Well-
which is what I'm trying to say.
Yeah, you're probably right. I mean, I think in general, one of the things that right now we're so fortunate, there's all kinds of bad parts of this virus that's occurring in the country. The good side is that families can get out and walk with each other and they can get out and do things and do exercises because you don't have all those same, crutches that, often they're there. But it's up to families to kind of motivate their kids to do things. If your family allows you to sit there and game all day long, well, you're most likely going to be deconditioned and you're going to probably gain weight and you're not going to be, healthy. But if you do a little bit of balance where you get to go out and have fun and get to go also play games when you want to, hey, I had Atari, little tennis ball that bounced back like this. That's what my version of electronic games was back in the...
Kind of like Wii.
Yes. Well, I like Wii. I love playing the tennis.
Oh, yeah.
I'm very good. I could beat you at bowling probably too.
But what if in real life?
I could
you
probably
challenge
beat
me?
you in real life. You'd be
No, you
surprised.
can't.
Yeah, you might be surprised. I'm a pretty good bowler. I just don't tell
What
people
should I
about it.
score?
Yours is probably a 300. I'm sure it's ridiculous, constant, blah, blah, blah,
Just
blah, blah.
what is it? What is yours?
I don't know if I've ever had that high, but I'm pretty consistent. Are you that consistent? I am. Let's do it. Let's play sometime. I'll play you.
My high score
We'll do
is
it on
157,
Oh.
but yeah, I'm pretty not. Yeah.
I heard you're pretty good, but I still think I could beat you. So, why the attitude? My goodness.
It's like I don't think that you can beat me.
I think I can.
I literally went against my dad, and he beat me by 1.
Well, that means that I probably.
And he's actually a pretty good bowler.
Why do you think I'm not? I don't
I don't
understand.
know.
I love when I was a kid, my parents got me involved in bowling too. We were on a bowling team as 10, 11 years old. But they also got piano lessons, singing lessons, guitar lessons. None of that worked out. I ended up being a drummer.
That's what people would say.
Yeah, that's true.
Well, now your bio says that you are a radio personality. What show are you on?
It's called The American Adversaries. It's a conservative radio show. You know, I got on it quite by accident. Back in 2016, when I was the chairman of the Trump campaign, they invited me on as a guest. And then in 2017, they kept asking me back to be on the contest night, which is like, you know, when people call in and they win things. And that was on Thursday nights. And then in 2018, we decided to create what's called Trumpin' Tuesdays, which is sponsored by a local car dealership. And we just basically have been going strong every Tuesday now for 2 years. And, you know, in the radio industry, it's tough to find sponsors. And it's tough to have a show that people want to tune into, to listen to. So especially since we're in a conservative market on Salem Media Group, which is a national conservative radio program and network, I feel pretty proud of that. I mean, it's what allows me to get media access when I go to Trump rallies because I do call-ins. So let's say I'm in a rally in, you know, New Mexico. I will call in during the radio show because you can remember the president normally goes on at 7, and so we're there starting at 2 or 3 in the afternoon. So by 4 or 5, the show starts at 5. We're ready to make a call in and tell people what's really going on. So we get to talk about it from a real life perspective where, you know, Fox is there, CNN is there. And that's kind of the weird part is that, you know, I'm certainly not that type of personality. I mean, those folks are getting paid a lot of money to be there. But it is also a very cool way to connect Orlando back to whatever's happening in the country with the president.
Well, I forgot my question. Well, what is the best part about being on the radio?
I think it's, you know, on Tuesday nights, we interview someone from the White House or from the campaign. So the reason that to me is important, it's one of the only programs in the country that has consistently, for the last 2 years, been interviewing those types of folks. You know, there's a lot, they're all, you see them on CNN, Fox, in major networks, but the idea that they're calling into a Central Florida-based I-4 corridor radio show, I think is pretty cool. You know, just a couple weeks ago, we were talking with, you know, Kayleigh McEnany. Kayleigh McEnany recently got promoted to be the White House press secretary. The odds of that happening are relatively small. We've interviewed everybody from Brad Parscale to the vice president's wife. I mean, we've gone all over the board. And so I think that's pretty cool. That's one of the best parts about it, is that we actually get to talk to people that, and share that with our audience, with a lot of people that would never get to hear from them at that local level.
Well, talking about the radio thing, did you go there yesterday?
I did. I was there. What is today? Today's Wednesday, right? So yeah, I was there last night. The show is from 5 to 7. Yep.
I was watching videos all
Well, we interviewed
time.
last night. We interviewed Mark Lauder, who is the director of strategic communications for the campaign. We've had him on the show a few times. A lot of fun. You know, I mean, you probably would have liked it. You probably would have enjoyed it.
Wait, it's not my
You
fault
should
that
call
I
in
didn't-
sometime to my show.
Really?
Yes. I'll have you call in one night when I'm there on a Tuesday night from between 5 and 7. We'll talk to you about your program.
I don't know if I can do it.
Why? You sure you can? It'd be a wonderful, you know, because one of the things we don't get to hear from are creative kids.
After all of that, I have 1 hour and 30 minutes until I go to bed.
What?
Yes, I go to bed at 8:30 because of school.
Well, then maybe you'll have to take 5 minutes and call on the show. Takes 5 minutes.
Or once all the school is done, which I have like 2 more weeks.
Have you been working from home, doing schooling from home?
Yes.
I wouldn't like that. How did that work out for you?
Oh, it's actually pretty good.
You actually like it?
Yeah. Do you know why? Because when I'm at school, I have to go to carpool, and then I just don't, like, I just get home later than I usually do.
Oh, okay.
See, but when you're at home doing school, after your last class is over, you're at home.
Oh, yeah.
You get to stay home, and you get to do all of this stuff. But what I really don't like about this is that I have to stay home, though. And that I don't really have a ton
You
of
don't get to talk to the
space.
kids. Yeah.
Yeah. You don't really get to shake hands virtually. You can't do that.
Yeah, I understand. I guess I can understand that.
Yeah. Well, what is the hardest part about doing radio?
I think because it's live, so you can't make any mistakes. Well, you know, you can't accidentally say a cuss word because you got to remember that, you know, or a swear word or something, because we're on a conservative network, so we have to be extremely cautious about that. And you also never know when someone's calling in. You don't know what their question's going to be, and I think you just got to be prepared for pretty much anything. I think that means that you also have to go into every show really aware of every issue that's happening in that day, because chances are that's what the show topic's going to be that night. I don't spend all day researching. I spend a lot of time listening during the day. What's going on? What am I seeing? I don't just listen to Fox. I listen to CNN. I listen to all of them.
If you could go back 10 years and tell yourself something, what would it be?
I think the biggest thing that I've learned in the last 10 years is, sometimes we think when we have a lot of people around us, we have a lot of friends. That's not true. I think that my mom told me one time when I was a kid, if you're lucky, if you have 5 friends, that you can really count on in life. And I still have, a couple people that I talked to from high school. Politics is very strange. You have people that are acquaintances in politics. You don't really have friends. It's tough. So I would say, do not assume everyone is your friend. Really work on understanding and creating a very small group of people around you that really can tell you the truth, keep you honest, and at the same time know that chances are somebody probably wants something from you. And as soon as they're not getting it, they may not be there for you. So have a small group of friends.
Well, what advice would you give my listeners if they wanted to grow up and be a political consultant, or if they wanted to run for office one day?
That's a great question. It really depends on where they are in their life. I think I always knew I wanted to run for office. I think I am not done running for office. I'm confident I will run again someday. But I've also learned that I had to take a huge pause in life and really spend some time getting to know myself a little bit better, because running for office, like I said earlier, is not easy, and it takes a lot of money. Sadly, it takes a lot of money. It takes a lot of your time. It takes your family's total buy-in. Everyone around you. What will happen is when you first say you're going to run for office, I'll hold a fundraiser for you. I'll write you a check. I'll do all these things. And what we learn very quickly in running for office, and I tell people this all the time, is it's very lonely. At the end, there's one person at the end of the campaign. It's you.
So what was the biggest mistake you ever made, and how did it change you as a person?
Oh, Lord. How many of those? I don't know. I think that if I look back on it, certainly I've had hiccups in life. I think the biggest mistake was not learning more quickly from them. You've got to learn from the mistakes. I don't really know that I've made mistakes that I haven't learned something from, and I've made many. And so that's kind of where I feel is you got to learn from your mistakes.
Mm-hmm. So when you're not working in politics, what do you do for fun?
I work in the yard. I have a dog named Trumpy. It's a golden doodle. He's 85 pounds of love. So I take him, like right now, we go on 5 walks a day. It's ridiculous. I'm sure he's sick of it. When he sees me bring the leash out, he's probably tired of that. Unfortunately, what I really enjoy doing is, sometimes doing nothing. I'm so busy all the time that when I get a chance to do nothing, it's actually it's happy time for me. But I like comedy shows. I go back and watch old Carol Burnett shows. Anything to take my mind. Like I binge watch on Netflix. A show called Ozark is one of my favorites. The Blacklist. They're kind of dark shows, but at the same time, it takes my head totally away from politics and not my own personal issues, things happening in my life that maybe, life isn't always perfect. When you're 10, you're 9, you're 9.
Yeah, I'm 9.
Life is wonderful at 9 years old, and if I, take it slow and just enjoy it, the whole time. I used to always want to be older. I couldn't wait to get older. I wanted wrinkles. Now I get Botox. I mean, come on. What? How does that make any sense? But it's okay. Life's good.
Well, so do you play video games, and what's your favorite one?
I don't. I'm horrible at them. Now, I've played the Wii, I swear, but I'm not good at them. Like the whole concept of strategy and using the things to make my thumbs connect to what's on there, I'm horrible. I'm horrible. You could beat me at that. You may not be able to beat me at bowling, but you could beat me at that.
Oh. Do you play any on your phone?
No, I don't play anything on my phone. Listen, I really The thing I play on my phone is social media, primarily because I run about 6 different political pages, including the one that I know your dad from, and it's very, it takes a lot to add content to those to keep it interesting. So yeah, that's my video game is social media.
Okay, so what is your favorite book to read?
It's funny. You're gonna probably not like this answer either. I don't really like to read. When I see people on the beach or on airplanes or reading anywhere like in a quiet space and all this activity is going on, my brain is wired to just always be moving, 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 moving. The idea of slowing down and reading a book does not sound fun to me. Now, I will read articles a lot. I read a lot of political articles so I can keep up on certain things, but if you said to me, Randy, what's your favorite book? I would have a hard time answering the question.
Well, here's a good question. Okay. Now, can you tell me that one story? Remember, this is a kid's show.
Uh-huh.
But that one story, well, that you're not supposed to tell me about. Come on.
Regarding a kid,
Kid appropriate.
let's see. An embarrassing moment, maybe? Is that what you're talking about?
Yes.
Oh, geez, there's been so many of them. Geez.
This could be like the worst one.
I mean, there's just many of them. I guess I was really embarrassed one time. I was supposed to be at a local news station for an interview. And I got there, and I'm waiting in the lobby. I got my suit on. I had been asked by the campaign to go do this interview, and I went to the wrong station, and I asked for the wrong anchor. And so I'm sitting there, and I blew it. I totally blew it. I was humiliated. And they were like, well, Randy, that's channel this. You're at channel this. And I'm supposed to be a media expert. I'm supposed to know all these things. So that was pretty embarrassing. I mean, I've been embarrassed. Let me tell you, one time I went to Publix, and I had on these boxer, you know how you tie the boxer, the shorts?
One of these.
They're regular shorts. And I had put my phone, heavy phone in this side, heavy wallet in this side. All of a sudden, I turned a corner, and my pants fell down. That was pretty embarrassing. Fortunately,
Mine's
nobody...
way more embarrassing.
Well, fortunately not, But I got yelled at Publix the other day because I went down an aisle the wrong way. And I didn't even look twice at the thing. The lady just screamed at me. She called me every thing you can possibly imagine because I went down the wrong aisle.
Oh.
I saw your mom the other day at the Publix. Yeah, I did.
Are you sure that you saw my mom?
Yeah, because you weren't with her. And I said, where's Joseph? And then she told me your dad wasn't, obviously you guys weren't in the store with her, but she was at the Publix. I call it my Publix, but it was where I was.
Because of the corona.
No, this is pre-corona.
Oh.
This is like probably January, February.
Well, because I don't really like to go shopping.
Oh, I go to Publix every day. I mean, even during this pandemic, I have been going at least 3 or 4 times a week. And there's a reason for that. I don't like to decide today what I'm going to eat 5 days from now. My dad does the same thing. If I want to go today, I want to think, do I want chicken? Do I want beef? Do I want this? So I go to the store all the time. It's been very rough for me. Now, during this, because my mom lives with me, so I've had to be a little bit more cautious. But I maybe have bought food for 3 or 4 days. I still don't like. I like the concept of deciding what I want that day.
So, is there anything else you think my listeners should know about you?
I mean, I don't know. I mean, they probably are already bored because I've been talking about politics. I mean, that's not something a lot of kids want to talk about. I wish. Yeah, are your.
Can you talk about something else?
What? Besides politics?
Yes.
I don't know. I think that, if I had to do anything else, I would probably be a lawyer, which is still boring. I would have probably went to law school. But I'd also think of someday if I wish that I could afford to have a bunch of property and open it up to dogs and have a bunch of dogs that, people could adopt if they wanted to, but more importantly, they just get to hang out because I've had... all my life I've had dogs, and I think dogs are just an amazing part of life, and they bring so much joy. So I'd have a big ranch with a bunch of dogs on it. That'd be a lot of fun.
Okay. Well, do you have a website or Facebook for my listeners who want to follow you? And also, how about the campaign?
Yeah, it's very simple. My Facebook page is Randy Ross, and it's Randy Ross Orlando at gmail.com. If anybody wants to contact me, the campaign obviously is Trump 2020. It's so easy to follow the president because he's so great at Twitter and all these other things. On Twitter, I'm Randy MAGA. I don't know what I'm going to do with all these titles when this is over on November 3rd because none of this is going to matter to the universe anymore. But yeah, the Trump truck even has its own Twitter page. It's called the hashtag Titan45. I want to give a big shout out to our sponsor on that, which is Sutherland Nissan. And, we drive that around to parades. I've been in parades. I've been all different things. I've driven it all over the country to rallies all over the country. I drive it around as a daily driver. But in November, that goes back to the dealer, and I'll go back to regular life. So there we go.
And is that why you brought the Trump truck here?
Of course, it's advertisement. Every time it goes any place, I'm sure, but we were sitting in here, somebody either saw it and either wasn't happy about it or stopped and got a picture with it. That's very common. When I take it to the grocery store, I cannot hardly get out of the parking lot. Because people want their picture with it, especially when they're standing there, they see the president and the vice president in the windows. But I drive it to the radio show every week. I drive it around all the time because it's an icon that really is designed to spark an opinion. And that opinion can either be really positive or the thing is, Trump could get that type of truck. I don't think the opponents on the other side would be able to spark that type of patriotism and this desire to want to ride around in a red, white, and blue 4x4, truck. There's something exciting about that, and I think the president brings that forward, and I think that's why I enjoy doing it.
Well, what is that one question that you think I forgot to ask you?
I'm not sure. I think you pretty much covered a lot of different things. I'm not really into sports. I'm not that guy. I always make fun on my political pages of some of my friends that I know are heavily into sports because it's like, they know. I think also at the same time, I'm an openly gay conservative. You probably will cut that from a show, which really is very unusual, because a lot of times that's not considered normal. But I'm kind of I'm really an open book. I spend so much time on social media that I think a lot of people know more about me than they probably should. But I'm doing that. So I'm well aware that I open those doors and those opportunities to criticism and everything that comes along with it, and I'm totally fine with it.
Okay. Well, thank you, Randy, for being my special guest. Can you stick around for Math Corners?
I can. I don't know what Math Corners is, though.